the next day we flew home and kind of got the community rallied and things like that, and learned pretty quickly that this wasn't going to be a 1 to 2 week thing, and he'd be out of the hospital. In our church, which we all share the same church, we had just had someone who had a very similar accident, not even maybe a year prior, and that kid was a miracle. He walked out of the hospital a few weeks later, days later. Mm-hmm. So we were all hopeful that would happen again. Like we said, medicine, science, the human brain, body doesn't always work the same. So it was not, when we realized it wasn't going to be the same situation, the community really did kind of stand up and rally around you guys. And that's when, we sat down and decided we need to put on some sort of benefit, because from the little bit of research I had done, I knew what you guys were going to have to do,
right,
even if it was covered by medical insurance, was going to still be incredibly expensive. And the brain is such a unique organ, and that there's a lot of
they just don't know,
non-approved. That's right. Like a lot of things they don't know, and then the things that they're testing, you have to be willing to say, yeah, test it. Like if it means it might help even a little bit, let's do it. Right. But of course, none of it is covered. None of it is, I shouldn't say none. A lot of it is not FDA approved, but it doesn't mean it doesn't help or it doesn't work.
Right.
And I knew you well enough and Dalen well enough to know you would do whatever it took, even if it meant getting, an eighth of that 3% back, or, a little bit of that back. So we knew we needed to raise some money for you. So as a community, we did do that. And I know James will drop that video in at some point to kind of show you what we did there. But, that event was on February 28th, 27th.
20-something.
28th, because 27th. We named it Tripp Children's Day. So we have it on a plaque somewhere.
Yeah, it's in Dalen's office.
Yeah,
I can't remember if
we'll remember that. But it was a great event, and, talk about the necessity of community. People you didn't know and didn't know you. And I will tell you, as someone who had a part in putting this event together, it was a pretty easy sell. I mean, I actually had gone to Arizona to the Waste Management Open Golf Tournament, and anyone and everyone I met and talked to, I told Tripp's story. Everyone. And I had little cards that I had made with a QR code that they could scan to donate directly to, the Square account, and people I didn't know were like moved to do it. So it was a very easy sell, if you will. But I think the best way to describe the day was it was one day with over 2,000 people, and we were able to raise over $300,000 to help you guys. And it was such an amazing day. Like, it wasn't sad. It wasn't about, okay. I mean, it was about raising money, don't get me wrong, but we made it an experience. I mean, kids still talk about their face painting and the jelly ball, and people still have their plaques up because they won the washers tournament. And just so many people really rallied around y'all, people who knew you, people who didn't know you, and it just made me really proud of our little community. Yeah, and again, it's pretty easy sell when you tell this story.
It's also a pretty easy sell when it's Jamie Smith going to people and asking, like, you
should take no for an answer.
You played more than a part in this, for sure. You were pivotal in the success of it, and that in the planning. I mean, I know there was a whole group of you guys, but you were it was pretty imperative that you were leading the charge on that. And so, we're forever grateful to you for that. But, I remember pulling up that day, and we were talking about this earlier and thinking, oh, something must be going on here today.
Yeah, they're having an event here.
Thinking we'd have like maybe some little corner in the back, like maybe there was a little table set up that people could come donate or something. So when I walked in and saw these like professional banners, and then all these activities, and the amount of people, like you said, people I knew and didn't know, and they had said there's going to be a room in the back if you need to take a break. And I immediately had to go back there and just kind of get my bearings and be like, because remember, at this point, that was February. We'd been living in a tiny box for
shut out for 2 months. You weren't on Facebook, and that was Tripp's Army. I reached, you and I were in a little bit of communication the first few days, and you finally said, you know what, will you keep people up to date? Because I can't answer all these text messages.
Yes.
So I made up what I guess I shouldn't have. It was a private Facebook group that we had to open up publicly because it grew so much, and we called it Tripp's Army because Tripp loves camo, and it started with like 17 people, and now there's
It's like over 2,000.
yeah, thousands and thousands of people, and so that kind of became the theme. Tripp's Army, we're the people backing him up. And then that's the name of the benefit was Tripp's Army Benefit. And it's just kind of grown from there. It's almost, now you've kind of even created a 501c3 to help other families with the same situation, called Tripp's Army. But, I would like to think anyone would do the same for me. But at the end of the day, I mean, we didn't spend one penny out of pocket. Anything that would have been every banner was donated. Okay, we wanted to sell T-shirts that said Tripp's Army. Someone came in and said, we'll buy the T-shirts and then you sell them.
Yeah.
And give the money to the family. And then, even the venue, thank you to Buck's Backyard. They were so gracious to donate the space. I know it was great for them because I don't think on a Sunday in February they have 2,000 people in a venue. And the smart thing was you get people drinking a little bit, they start bidding on stuff in all the auctions. So it was great. So I mean, just in the live auction, I think we made over 150,000 just on the live auction. We had some really great items donated. I'm going to shout out my husband's uncle, Jim Zumbo. He's very good friends with Miranda Lambert's family, and she was gracious enough to send us an autographed guitar that made something like $11,000. We have another friend, Brittany. Her dad is in George Strait's band, and he signed, autographed two cowboy hats, and you ended up with one of them, even though someone else bought it, correct?
Oh, yeah. I think she bid
like
$7,000 or $8,000 and then turned around and said, I'm going to give it to you. I thought, oh my gosh. It's the generosity of these people. And that woman I had never met.
Right.
Wow.
No.
I mean, she's a dear friend now, but I had never met her.
Right.
The generosity of these people.
And again,
it was something I'd never
So we're not even 2 years post-COVID at this point. And I don't know about y'all, but at this point, my faith in humanity had gone pretty low. I mean, it was dark times. Everyone was scared. And if you weren't scared, you were mad at your neighbor because they didn't act the way you wanted them to act in that time. You were mad at your family for the same thing. It was not an uplifting time. And I tell everyone, this tragedy and then what came from it, especially with this event and beyond, really gave me faith in humanity again.
Yeah.
I mean, to see, and I think it was kind of, this event especially, but for all of us, it was like so good to be with people again and wanting to help people again and feeling like we don't have to live in this dark, scary time anymore. And even though it was don't get me wrong, a terrible tragedy and very sad, we knew the day Tripp was born that he was going to do something to change the world. And I know in our little pocket of the world, he certainly did.
Right.
He brought a community back together that had been kind of broken just by everything going on in the world. So that was huge.